Welcome. You're on the Fringe Show. I'm your host, Tatiana Zalan, and I usually go live every Friday on 2 p.m. Dubai time. But today is a little bit different. It's 19th of September, and we're recording an interview with Eric Balance. The Fringe helps you to navigate the rapidly changing world and increase the odds of your success in this changing world. The Fringe is about our future. It's the future of society, technology, economy, and arts. And I'm very, very pleased to welcome Eric Balance today. Who is Eric? Eric is, as he calls himself, he's a creator, writer, and international speaker. He focuses on leadership development, conscious culture, and effective communication. Eric works a lot with organizations that are seeking to elevate their corporate culture and elevate and impact their vision by taking their people and guiding them through a shared purpose, one that the collective mean wants to stand strong behind. And Eric has got a very unusual background, I would say, because he started as an accountant, and he can even do things with his own hands because he has a welding certificate of all things. Eric, how did you end up from being an accountant into what you're doing today?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this warm welcome. It's amazing to connect and to be here. I really feel, your warm heart, your kindness, your graciousness, and for anybody that's listening, thank you for being and listening. I came to Dubai about 2 months ago, but my path, like you said, has been weaving. It's been weaving around the world for quite some time, and it's been one that has allowed me to really step into this creative purpose, this certainty that I have within myself. One that many of us, unfortunately, don't notice for a very long period of time, myself included, or we develop this unconscious behavior based off of society's expectations. And I think that this is where I still am grateful. Well, I'm always grateful, but I still realize that this was always inside of me looking back. And so when I started in university, even before that, I was, deep into, the opposite of what I was doing. I was very stuck into drugs and, not doing well in my life and putting my parents through literally physical hell. With all the worry and things like this. But then when I went to university and after I got out of rehab, with all of their help and love and support, it was beautiful for me to go and find myself inside of university, which was a great wisdom that was offered to me for creating this confidence of knowing who I am and that I can really step into anything. I was the president of the accounting club. I was I created a lot of different events. To this day, they still have a Meet the Firm event. It's one of my legacy builders. And so each student can go and find a job a lot easier now. And I was very, very grateful. They wrote a beautiful article in the school magazine, and they did a lot of very kind things for me when I graduated with the dean and a lot of associate professors. And I was very it was I felt like when I was there for the community. I was there for building the student body, really standing for the student body. It wasn't although yes, I had a lot of opportunity that came to me as a result. My focal point was how can I leave this place better than when I found it? And it's this has been really my ethos in life, is how I do one thing is how I do everything. So every space, every communication, every community, every environment that I find, I want to leave that place better than when I found it. And that to me is integrity. That to me is living in integrity. And so then I went into welding because, let's be real. I spent 6 months after 5 years of schooling in university. I went to these prestigious firms that I had different opportunities: Ernst and Young, Deloitte, PwC, all the big four. Then now I know there's five, and I wasn't happy. I was miserable, actually. And I knew that there was something about me that there was like, I'm not supposed to be unhappy. Actually, if I'm unhappy, the whole scenario, everyone feels my my unhappiness. I have that type of energy. So I would quit. I quit and I said, I'm going to go and figure it out. And so I went to work as a welder in the oil field, which is what paid for my schooling actually through university, because in the summer times I would go work as a welder. And so I gained my my ticket, my interprovincial Red Seal ticket. And so after that had happened, after I paid and went to university and I decided that accounting wasn't for me, I actually went and got my B pressure ticket and my TIG ticket, which are like the high precious metal welding. And so I basically was one of the top welders in the organization in like our how do you say, they have like a union, in our union, the Boilermakers Union. Yeah, so in the union, I was one of the very highly sought out welders because I got my like precious metal certificate, and I did. So it was really nice to allow myself to go into that level of, focus, because then everyone needed me as well. I was highly sought out. And so I did that for almost 3 years until I became a superintendent, sitting in an office, reading books, and decided that I have so much more inside of me. and so as a result of like just reading and spending a lot more, I went and sold cars. I like started to challenge myself. And again, another environment. I sold cars. I went to work at BMW. And then as a result of that, I really found my communication was the most important thing, because I could step into something, any situation, and feel comfortable because I was comfortable with myself. And as long as I knew how to pass that energy in any situation, right? It doesn't matter where I was going, what I was doing, what travel, where I was in the world. I realized the only certain thing that I needed to be was of myself.
Wonderful. That's certainly quite a story. So you ended up with being the CEO of Eric Balance Holdings, right? And that provides training, leadership development, and so on. I can see that you're a little bit of a futurist, right? Just like myself, although I don't necessarily promote myself as one. But what's your vision of the future? I feel that what we're really being offered at the moment, things like, transhumanism, the growth, inclusive capitalism, which I think that's neither inclusive nor capitalism, is actually very exclusive, or what they're kind of dystopian scenarios. What scenarios do you see unfold, or perhaps you want to unfold and that you want to create?
So my biggest thing as I was growing up was, there was a society that expected of me, especially as a man, to basically do what I'm told and be this angry facade, this patriarchy. And listen, this is propaganda. This is not truth. And patriarchy is very focused around the last 2,000 years, even since the story of Jesus, and the way that it was portrayed and passed on was very focused around a misrepresentation of how that needed to continue with the church, with everything. And what really needed to be happen was the love and the connection of the feminine energy inside of this beautiful man called Jesus, or Yeshua, or whatever, and this is the thing that so many individuals, I think, because when we don't know where enough, we try to create an illusion of separation. And this has been something that has been conditioned for a lot of individuals around the planet about creating something in competition of one another. When if you really believe and have faith in yourself, in something greater than yourself, you know that there is no competition. The only competition that you create is in yourself. And I didn't understand this as a kid because when my parents would give me their infinite level of love and I still rebelled, what was it that I asked myself, what was it that was needing me to really want to rebel? Like, what was it in society, you know? And what I realized, there was this need for money or material things that was creating this angst, because I felt like I was always living in lack, because that's what society had shown me, that if you don't have this, that if you don't have that, that if you don't know it, you're in scarcity, you're living in scarcity, literally. And so I got curious because I had these dreams, and these dreams of like, you know, creating happiness, feeling abundant, expressing yourself openly, not worrying what other people think, and really being in this place of an artistic expression. And what I realized is, over the course of this time, is like, if we see that we're all artists, right? If we understand that we have art in our hearts, if we follow the artist connection, because our creative intelligence within our heart set intelligence comes from our creator, the infinite loving potential that's inside you and me, it will allow us to elaborate on something way more creative than what we've been taught to believe. And so we can really go from a mindset belief system to heart set coherence. And this can really translate and build us to a whole new level where we start to connect to each other. And this is the beautiful dance between the masculine and feminine that each individual has. It's not whether you're a man or a woman, but each individual can really collectively bring to life if they do the work on themselves first. Because it's easy to go out there and want to change the world. In fact, it becomes so easy that you force things and it never happens. Look at what history has taught us, right? History has taught us we need to go out there and fight and kill and death and despair, and because everyone was doing it from an outer perspective, instead of going inside, finding the peace, the heaven that we have in our hearts, coming to a place of understanding ourselves and having compassion and having this actualized self-wisdom, we can then walk into any circumstance, any situation, and create harmony. And this is because you know how to recognize all situations are either reflections or projections. And if you know yourself in such a deep way, you know who's projecting what at you, because you know your heart's in the alignment, because you have the integrity of leaving everything that comes out of you in a better place than where you found it.
Yeah, so if I correctly understand that you're all for your vision of the new world is a more harmonious world, right? Where everything is balanced. Like you name, yeah. In your work, you talk a lot about compassionate leadership. Can you explain what this really means, and how do you teach it? You're born with it. How does it work?
So I believe we are born with it, but we unlearn it. So it's actually about the reversal of our aging paradigm. And so because we've cultivated a paradigm where we actually need to become spectators of our life rather than active participants, we recognize that how can we return back to this transformational guide, the divine child that allows us to be the artist? Because for so long, we're the warrior. We've been taught that we need to go out there and fight. And this is actually the opposite. I used to go out there and fight. I was probably one of the darkest people. People, you know, it doesn't matter. I would go into darker places and I would still be darker. and so, which also gives me a lot of strength today, because as I know myself from back then, I can walk in with who I am today and know where my heart is today and know how I want to show up. I can go in one of the darkest places and create light. So it's amazing. It gives me a lot of again, certainty, and I can challenge a lot. And I don't believe in labels. I believe everybody is equal. So whether a person is a king, a ruler, a politician, billionaire, to me, we're all equal. And so it doesn't matter what kind of energy or people you have around you. We are all allowed to challenge one another, because it brings out the great mirror. The great mirror is our eternal teacher that's in front of us all the time. Just like right now, you're my mirror, and we get to learn from one another, right? And
Sure.
So the important part of identifying with ourselves in this capacity, and allowing us to really bring this intention, is in one that it gives an emotional understanding. And so compassion comes from learning back this emotional connection, this emotional intelligence, this spiritual intelligence, because we've been taught to go back into the mind for such a long period of time, going to school, our parents, our generational traumas, everything that, you know, and of course, this can lead back to so much generations, right? But if we go forward into life and we start to understand as leaders, right, that we have really to step into this sovereign mindset, this connection to our highest sense of self, we build a thing that I call, or framework I call, the sovereign mindset of manifestation, where we work hand in hand with our creator, with our creative intentions, because we're so tapped into the heart set, intelligent coherence, that then as a result, we create this coherence because we work with resonance. We allow the flow to come. So when I spend time with leaders, or I go into a speaking engagement, or I sit down with organizations and visionaries, CEOs, I first need the leadership to understand, okay, so where are you? How are we working with the identity of yourself? And is this something that you prefer, you are aligned with? Or do we need to see and but adjust this old identity into a new one, so that then as a result, we can go up the step ladder of identifying with confidence, with clarity, with love, forgiveness, and compassion for ourselves. And when we can do this for ourselves, we can illuminate this within our teams, within our families, within our organizations, within our cultures, because we've done the work on ourselves. And so if we've activated this work within ourselves, we can walk into any circumstance with any teammate and we can say, hey, even if they're doing something wrong, we embrace that, because we know they're doing the best they can with the knowledge that they have, because that's what we did. You see, it becomes a reflection. It becomes an opportunity to teach and share as a student of ourselves, understanding that the reflection is actually giving us an opportunity to learn how to communicate even more effectively. And as a result, raise the standards of that individual, of that mirror in front of us, that person, so that they too can learn, become better communicators, better leaders, because we're all leading ourselves. The only thing that people don't realize this is that they're not taking enough responsibility. That's it. And once we have compassion, this compassionate leadership evolves us to a space where we actually become sovereign. And this sovereign wisdom, now we work with each other at such a collective version that we know how to work and find solutions together. And then everything is based off meritocracy. based on this is how the new governance can be created, because we have such total resonance and belief in one another. We're in a sovereign understanding, but meritocracy, we know how everyone can add value based off the merits of where they've been and how they've experienced their own situations, and they're willing to share openly what they don't know.
Sure. Eric, that seems to me such a different paradigm altogether of how you can think about leadership. And I'm just wondering, how do people take it? And how do they actually easily make this transition from what they were conditioned to believe in and being spectators of their lives into this new state? Just very curious to know your perspective.
So when people are, usually when I meet people, they're very curious and in a place of hunger, of seeing how I am with individuals, and they're curious because they see, wow, there's this outgoing individual who really believes in what he's sharing, and as a result, he's actually doing it. He's not, just teaching it. Everywhere he goes, the way he is, and so it becomes who I'm being, right? And people for so long, we've been conditioned to do, like really losing the identity of themselves.
Yeah, that's a very Western thing. In Asia, it's more about being, but in the Western world, it's clearly all about doing. It's really culture.
Yes. And so it's in this doing that we actually start to forget how we can connect. And so what most individuals that I get to connect, and some people that are of a higher frequency or a higher resonance, they immediately get it and they just want to jump in. They don't even have the question, right? And so there's a range of different individuals, but the most important is when people are curious and they feel something. They feel something within themselves, and they don't know if they need to believe it because they've been so like diffuse. It's like they've let go of that part of their intuition and their trust. But once they start to feel it and they start to spend time and they start to understand, they recognize that the intuition is actually way more important or as important than breathing. Because the intuition is the one that allows us to really make the real true choices that's in alignment with ourselves. So once you understand this intuitive behavior, you start to listen to your body. You start to know that there's a deep communication that your body is telling you all the time. You start to listen to the heartbeat, because the heartbeat, without it, you don't exist. You start to let go of the thoughts that are maybe causing you heartache or misery or unhappiness, because you know that that's just a thought going by and it's not one that you need to hold on to. And you start to really make better decisions because you realize that you're the creator of your life rather than a manager of your circumstances. Correct. And when you realize this, people become way more curious about knowing that they get to set their intentions. They take more responsibility. And then as a result, they focus their attention where it matters. Because if we understand, there's three things that I go by and I always share. Cultivate your awareness, set new intentions, and then as a result, you will focus all your attention. And so making sure that you do that in the right places is up to us.
Correct. Eric, you have a podcast which is called Resilient Minds. What kind of message do you want to send to your listeners? Is this along the same lines, or is it something different that you are doing on Resilient Minds?
No, it's definitely, everything that I do is definitely in alignment. And so the Resilient Minds is really focused on our X factor, our experience, and how it contributes to our why, how our experiences are illuminating us. So I communicate with thought leaders from all over the world. I've had the podcast now for close to 3 years, and I have over 127 episodes, and from different thought leaders that have been doing big things around the planet. And, this is really about their story and how they've illuminated their gifts by following their X factor, their experience, but knowing that X factor and that experience is the one that came from within, not from around.
Can you maybe share a bit of information about how these leaders are doing unusual things without necessarily giving names, if that's confidential?
Yeah, and I mean, it's not confidential, it's on the show, but I mean, every single individual, from the first guest that I have, Rob Gronkowski, from when he was struggling with the NFL, and when he retired from the NFL, I met him at one of Tony Robbins' events in Australia. Then we became very close, and he came on my podcast and he talked about some of the struggles that he was going through with retirement, and then when he went back to the NFL, playing with Tom Brady and all these pressures that he had on his body and all the things that and now again he's retired and he's done the NFL, after winning another Super Bowl. And so it's interesting how individuals at high levels of performance, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, we all have the same component of wanting to know how to really be in the present moment. Because if we're constantly thriving into a space of, hey, why are we chasing something? Why are we constantly chasing something? What if the actual current present moment is the one that needed to be the most focused on? And as a result of being so present, we're illuminating something that is giving us true peace, true harmony, true connection. Because tomorrow's not a certainty. Yesterday already passed. The only thing that can happen right now, I can go outside, down into the street and get hit by a car and die. So what is the most important thing? If we start to recognize that death is one of the most beautiful things, that it's so close, the veil is so close, we might start to live more. And so what I really spend a lot of time with these thought leaders is saying, hey, the only thing that matters is now. And if you realize that you take every initiative, every change, every exciting part, don't wait for someday, one day to follow your dreams and create them. Do them now. And if you don't do them now, when? What, you're going to wait for that perfect moment, that perfect opportunity, that perfect transit? Why? It's not certain. That's the only thing that's certain is you. And if you make the certainty to step into something that you really believe in, then you do it now. You don't wait. What are you waiting for? And so this is the experience of life. It's the experience of all these thought leaders. These are the experience of everything that we do is we make a change now. The people that make decisions and they say, I need to think about it. What do you need to think about? You're stuck in your mind, in the feeling, but you're creating so much fear and uncertainty in yourself rather than saying, yes, I feel it. I trust in myself. I'm doing it. There is nothing or nobody that can take me off my path. I'm actually going to find my path or create one. And this to me is the most important thing. People don't realize this. And if they take more responsibility of their lives, we can really transform our lives together as a collective.
Mm-hmm. And is this message being heard? What do you think?
Yes.
I wish it is.
Yes. I mean, I have a great following on my podcast, on my YouTube, on my Instagram. So I'm growing every day. And, I've been doing this for 4 years, almost 5 now, traveling the world and really spreading my message. And I haven't given up, and I won't. I never will. This is the thing. I'm probably one of the most resilient minds that I know, but I'm biased because I'm myself. So to be honest, it's like I know where I'm headed, and I know why this is such an important, because I've come to this physical world and this physical reality to really bring to first find heaven inside my heart, right? Mm-hmm. And once I found it inside my heart, I know that I know that I'm actually in the physical experience of making it happen in our reality. And I'm a big part of that. And I know this is my responsibility here. And a lot of people over the years, they said, good luck, or you're crazy, or good luck, like your dreams, including people that were some of the most closest people to me. They said, Eric, you have big dreams, big aspirations, big goals. Good luck. Like, do you have a lot of like, basically, really thinking like you're too much. You think, and all my life I've been told this and to this, but you know what? The thing is that's their limitation and not mine, because if we really connect to our creative intelligence, do you think our creator, when created planet Earth and all of us, was thinking too much? No. So this is the thing. We are an expression and an extension, and the physical experience of consciousness manifesting itself. And so if we realize that we can take that responsibility, we become the same level of energy. And so
and then, of course, we can connect better as human beings. Yeah, if we do that.
And so this is the thing, is like, it's not impossible. This is why I came here. So now I'm just, I'm at the edge. I'm always leading in a space of knowing, because I know who I am. I know why I'm here, and I know what I need to do with the brothers and sisters that I'm working with to really create. And as a result, we're going to build the most focused artistic expression of humanity, because we want to live together in a place of abundance, of harmony, of creative expression. And we're going to challenge those that are out of alignment or out of integrity. And we're going to do it at such a big level, at such a strong level, because it's not about one of us doing it. It's about all of us doing it together. And I'm telling you, it's like, you can go fast alone, but we're going really far together.
Sure. And on that point, Eric, where you're talking a lot in your work about how you can ignite the true potential of people. What stands in the way of true potential? I've got my own answer to this question, but I would like to know your perspective.
The story we keep telling ourselves.
Yeah, so it's in your mind, right?
You're stuck in your mind. So, if we can get out of, everyone, and rightfully so, because, society and a lot of great leaders have been talking about mindset, the power of your mind. And I'm not saying the mind's not powerful, because of course it is. But if we go deeper than that, we actually discover it's the heart set intelligence that amplifies the mindset. Once we know what's in our heart, there's 20,000 neurons that have created the heart brain. And this heart brain potential is the unlimited force of our grace, of our creator. And that intelligence amplified by our mind, now we're in real coherence. Now we're really making things happen. But if we just focus on the mind, we lose ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. There is an interesting coach. He's a sort of life coach, but also an author. He's a psychologist by training, called Kapil Gupta. I don't know whether you heard his name or read his work. Maybe he's not for everyone at all, like for 0.0001% of the world's population would probably understand what he's saying. But what he's saying is so very close to what you've said about having near-death experience every, 3-4 months, so that we can actually start living. And he's also emphasizes this point about our conditioning of the mind. Actually, if you want to become a creator, if you want to become limitless, you need to stop listening to it. So it's not about being mindful or mindfulness, as is very common now. It's a buzzword. There is a lot of hype about it. It's actually switching it off altogether and listening to whatever lives inside you. You can call it whatever you like. It's gut feel, it's instinct. It's maybe something that's been channeled to you. Yes. So how very interesting.
What's his name again?
Kapil Gupta. I'll send you. Yeah, I'll send. He's really interesting, very unusual, and not for everyone, as I said. And perhaps maybe one of my last questions. In your work, you seem to be blending some unique insights with ancient wisdom. Will you maybe share a couple of things along these lines that helped you maybe, or helping leaders in your work? This blend between what's ancient wisdom and your own unique insights.
Absolutely. So, I spent almost 2 years in the Amazon, in the jungles of Brazil, and I spent time in Ecuador and Mexico with the Mayans and things like this. So I spent a lot of time learning from some masters that just to have a different perspective and have really connected to the earth. And so in this ancient philosophies, because they're very ancient, and we have been passed on information inside of like our mother, both physically, like inside of our mother, but also in the earth as a whole. So the Mother Earth, she holds great wisdom, and inside of this great wisdom, we have different plants, different medicines that we've also received. People have called them different places, or like mushrooms, or ayahuasca or quachuma, all these other things. But that's not like, and those are ways that you can also have those near-death experiences, or, kill the ego, or the death of the ego, meaning, and not meaning you're dying, but your ego, the mind, actually lets go. And because we need the ego to be in this physical reality. But what I'm saying is that the mind perspective, the illusion of separation, actually lets go. And so you realize that death and life are actually the thinnest veil from just our breath. And so when we're doing breath work, or we're connecting to each other in a deep place where we're being in a present moment of reverence and recognizing this wisdom, you can actually communicate with any individual at such a deep level. You don't even have to speak the same language. We were in ceremony in the jungle, and myself and one of the main leaders were dancing around the fire, and he has never danced for almost 20 years. But because I was able to move my body in a place where he was able to communicate, he decided to get up and dance with me. And we were communicating at such a deep level inside of ceremony that the whole tribe was like, they were like blown away, because they've never seen him move like that. But we were communicating the whole time. We didn't speak a word of the same language, but we were able to communicate. So you see, this is a really important philosophy of understanding oneself. So it's actually, you don't have to go through a near-death experience every 3-4 months. You actually realize that the near-death experience is literally just, if you stop breathing, you die. So we can do things. The near-death experience is in every moment. It's having gratitude of waking up. It's having gratitude of knowing. And so you see, the medicine, whether you take any of these medicines or not, the medicine is actually just a reminder. These ancient philosophies are just a reminder for you to know who you are. But the medicine is actually the one inside your heart. It's the heartbeat. And you are the medicine. The medicine just helps you, remind you to say, let go of the mind and realize that you are here in this present moment. And as a result of this present moment, live with that level of reverence, because our life is an altar and each moment is a prayer. And if we recognize that it's not like I'm spiritual. Our whole life is spiritual. Our whole journey is spiritual. Our whole planet is the castle, is the church, is the experience. It's everything that we do is reverent, is special. If we start acting like it and we start recognizing it in each individual situation, it becomes the ancient wisdom, because we recognize that everything around us is wisdom, because we are the wisdom.
And Eric, I'm conscious about time, and perhaps we can wrap this very interesting interview, and I hope we can catch up again, maybe on another show. But if you could share perhaps 2 or 3 takeaways or insights for business leaders in particular, coming from your own experience and working with these type of people.
So I think the biggest thing as a business leader is we're leaders, right? So act like a leader, meaning embrace thoughtful disagreement. Enjoy the challenge that your staff or the people around you want to give you, because they're challenging you so that you can become even a better individual, you can become a better leader. And so welcome it, embrace it, ask for it. These challenges, these disagreements are what's going to bring something even better. And so as a business leader, it's your responsibility to welcome all information. You are the ultimate student. Remember this, as a business leader, you are the ultimate student. You just had the courage to go out and step into that. So remind yourself that everything around you is your mirror and is the responsibility for you to hear and pay attention to. Second thing is, like, when you walk in to a new connection or a new communication or a new networking opportunity, hold space for everybody to be curious about what it is that they want to see happen, what they want to contribute to. It's not just about you. It's about how you can lead the collective, how you can lead what everybody, and you put all the pieces together. Because as a leader, as a business leader, as an organization leader, as a leader in country, and it's your responsibility to listen to what everyone is saying and put all the best of what, because as long as you're in a state of integrity, you can put those in the right places and make them happen. And then finally, no leader can lead anybody unless they lead themselves. So the most important leader that you are is to yourself. And so when you're willing to make sure that you're the ultimate student, that you're looking at everything from a perspective of an observer, and you're willing to have the compassion of different individuals rather than getting triggered, remember that everything that somebody says or does and is triggering you is your responsibility and not theirs. It's your responsibility to see where that is coming from and why you're feeling triggered, because the trigger is something that you need to work on. They don't need to change. They're expressing their truth in whichever way they need to. Ultimately, it's how you respond and how you decide to react.
Well, that was a wonderful closure to this interview, and I'm so grateful that you find time to come and talk about leaders and business leaders, what they have to do about compassionate leadership, and sharing your unique insights. And as I said, I hope to see you again on the show, or maybe in person, which is a lot easier now that we are both in Dubai. Exactly. Thank you, Eric, so much. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind wisdom. Thank you for your for holding this show. Thank you for inviting me. I really want to acknowledge, I know how difficult sometimes a show can be, and arranging things and making things happen. So the challenge is beautiful, and it's also very rewarding. And for anybody that is listening, please check me out on my Instagram, Eric Balance, or check out my website, ericbalance.com. I'm always available, just a message away. So thank you.
And thank you for sharing the details, of course. I forgot to ask you about the details of you, where people can find you. Wonderful. Yes, thank you, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the best.